It's funny already, right? Mr. Netanyahu, this is Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy, my old friend, please call me BB.
Okay, BB. How are you, buddy?
I am doing quite well, thank you for asking. I have just returned from a pleasant visit to your quaint little country, very relaxing. But I must say, every time I go there, it just seems like you all need to be whipped back into shape. A lot of people have to have a stern talking to.
I guess
a stern baby talking to.
Are you talking about our president?
Who am I to name names? But yes, Barack Obama, that one. And right as I'm there, your country is racked by devastating terrorist attacks that only underscore the common threat facing both America and Israel.
You mean those dumpsters that blew up?
Yes, dumpsters. Next time, entire cities. You Americans, you're so cavalier. ISIS, Hamas, regular Muslim people just walking around. It's all the same threat.
Well, that's demonstrably untrue, Mr. Prime Minister. That is demonstrably untrue.
When are you going to get your shit together? Your president won't even declare a Muslim terrorist state of emergency after these attacks.
Yeah, probably because we don't have that. That's not a thing here.
You're so naive. Who do you think wants to bomb your malls and airports? Mennonites? Moonies? No, Muslims. The most dangerous of the M's.
What? I, for one, am glad that our president is not a fearmongerer, and that he hasn't used regular Muslims as scapegoats in this war on terror. That's what I'm glad of.
Be a liberal at your own peril, hippie. See what happens. But I'm looking towards the future, when your disobedient peace frog is out of that office which is oval.
Well, listen, that leads to an interesting question, BB. What do you think about this election? I mean, who do you think Israel would work best with?
That is a good question. On one hand, you have Hillary Clinton.
Actually, BB, there are more than two choices.
Shut up. Zip it. Verschweigen. I'm the Prime Minister of Israel, for Christ's sakes. I have to deal with realities. As I was saying, on one of two hands, Hillary Clinton.
All right, fine.
Hillary Clinton has shown herself again and again to be a staunch ally of the Israeli people. Her neocon, war-hawkish ways please me. She represents a political tradition, a way of conducting foreign policy in the Middle East that is merely workable and, I predict, typically manipulable.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So I know that if she wins, somewhat of the roadmap that Israel and the United States will be looking at over the next 4 to 8 years. That is a good thing. Good thing for Israel. But conversely, I know also the ceiling that I will be dealing with. That is to say, the limits of what Israel can exact from POTUS. It will be a much higher ceiling than that Obama has afforded us, but that's certain, but a ceiling still.
Okay, all right, I follow.
But on the other hand, you have Donald Trump.
And what do you think about him?
There is much that is troubling about him. As your fellow comedian, Don Oliver, so brilliantly and side-splittingly hilariously pointed out, the name Trump used to be Drum, which is German.
Right, okay.
The prospect of an American president with a German last name is not a particularly pleasing one to my people, as I'm sure you understand. think that is a precedent that anyone is very eager to set.
I believe Eisenhower was a German last name.
And what did Eisenhower ever do for the Jews? But beyond that, there is a disturbing rising tide of anti-Semitism in this alt-right movement that seems to be supporting Trump, and his campaign seems to be surreptitiously engaging them.
I can't argue with that one, actually.
But if we can look past that, a Donald Trump presidency might present Israel with some opportunities.
How so?
First of all, I have no reason to think there is anything anti-Semitic about the man personally. As far as any stances on Israel that he has voiced, there are no red flags. And he is a dullard and fed solely through his own ego, which is a type of man who is easily controlled if one knows what one is doing. And he is a bully like me, so I will know how to communicate with him. If everything falls into place, he could conceivably be the first American president to give Israel everything it wants.
By Israel, you mean the hardline faction, right? Like the Likud party, which you represent? I mean, from what I gather, there are many Israelis who actually don't like the fact that their prime minister is a bully who's averse to compromise and reasonable diplomacy. Am I right?
Fuck them. I'm the prime minister of Israel, they are not. And I see the possibility of a great ally in Mr. Trump. Say what you will about him, but he is a man who knows a good deal when he sees one. And if so, I have the deal of the millennium for him.
Oh yeah? What would that be?
If Trump, as president, spearheads America's acquiescence to Israel correcting the great error of that doddering fool Sharon, that allows us to proceed with the resettlement of the Gaza Strip.
You're kidding. You can't be serious.
And the bombing of Iran.
This is a nightmare.
Then once his tenure as president is over, he will have the right of first refusal to build and run a Trump casino in Gaza City.
What? What?
The largest, most elegant luxury resort in the entire Eastern Mediterranean. Live life lavishly on the Levant. I can see it now.
This is disgusting, BB.
I'll be a partner, of course. I need a little nest egg for my own retirement.
Jesus. BB, this is insane. You're like a Bond villain.
Come on, Jimmy, come on. We'll have a comedy club. I'll give you 3 headlining weeks a year.
No way. No way.
Come on. I'm sure the region will be restabilized by then. A suite facing the sea, 10 grand in chips waiting for you. What do you say?
Can I bring my own opener?
Who do you think you are, Don Rickles? How dare you talk to me like that? I'll book a YouTube star who's never performed live before I give in to such demands.
Hey, this is Jimmy.
You have a collect call from...
Friggin' Reince Priebus.
Will you accept the call?
Yes, I will accept the charges, operator.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello? Hell?
Mr. Chairman?
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for taking the charges. I owe you one, buddy.
No problem, Mr. Priebus. Why are you calling me collect?
Oh, man, someone broke into my van and stole all the change out of the ashtray. I mean, I finally find a payphone out here, and then it's like, what the hell, man?
Where are you, Mr. Chairman?
I don't even know, Jimmy. There are power lines, and I passed a Cracker Barrel a few miles ago. That looks like maybe it's a badger over there.
You know, I don't understand. I just saw you on Face of the Nation this weekend, and...
Oh, yeah. They were like, let's trot Priebus out there to polish up this turd. It's not like he's trying to hold together a major political party with both hands in his dick.
Well, I just got to say, Mr. Chairman, you gave a pretty vocal defense of Trump.
Well, what the hell else was I going to do, Jimmy, huh? Tell the truth? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But you basically said you agreed with Trump when you said Hillary Clinton started birtherism.
Yeah, and Dickerson let me. Can you believe that? The whole time I was praying he'd say, Mr. Priebus, you are a total fraud. And then it would all finally be over. But he never did. I swear to God, I got more pushback from the lady at McDonald's when I asked for extra dipping sauce. It's not like I'm the first guy to ask for more sauce. I mean, who finishes 9 friggin' McNuggets with just one thing of sauce, I ask you?
But then when he brought up Kasich and the other Republicans who are refusing to back Trump, you said you might punish them if they want to seek the presidency again. You said that.
Well, yeah, these guys knew the score. I mean, they all pledged to support the candidate. They all saw the boatload of crazy we ran last time. For fuck's sake, Michelle Bachmann ran last time, Jimmy. Michelle Bachmann.
Yeah, I know. I know.
They might as well have said I pledged to support a maternal orangutan on cocaine if that's who the party selects. I mean, Bobby Jindal was running this time. The guy who manages to be crazy and boring at the same time. And they knew he might win, and they all took the pledge anyway. They all kneeled before the goat head, killed a white chicken, and proclaimed to the Lord Zossel that they would support their party's nominee.
Wait, what was the part about the goat head again?
So yeah, if you break that pledge, I might make it harder for you to run for president. And, as it was in the old days, your children may be cursed and tormented.
Mr. Chairman, this all seems really unfair. I mean, freedom of speech is a core principle in this country.
Hey, we're not talking about your little hemp sewing circle, Mary. This is the Republican damn party, okay?
Yeah?
We require blind loyalty here.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump is the nominee, you support him. If Denny Hastert wants to bugger a few children, you help cover it up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Did you just say you helped cover up Denny Hastert's crimes against children? Is that what you said?
Hey, Buttercup. This isn't your homo cuddle bondage club here. This is the Republican freaking party. You brought in with a jump in, and the only way out is in a body bag. And between those 2 points, you better toe the line, buddy boy. If that means supporting a bigoted, compulsive liar who can't read for president, then you do it. And if that means getting Roger Ailes a never-ending supply of Latvian hookers and then having them murdered, well, that's what you do, too.
You did what, Mr. Chairman?
You're not hearing me, Jimmy. You want lower taxes and smaller government? Well, guess what? Sometimes that means you gotta vote for a guy less qualified to be president than the Cleveland pimp. Sometimes it means you gotta let Sheldon Adelson molest you in a hotel suite while everyone stands around and watches. Because this is the Republican motherfucking party, you motherfuckers. This isn't a hair club for men where you can just do whatever you want. Like now they admit women. I mean, what the fuck?
Mr. Chairman, you gotta calm down.
Seriously, Jimmy, it's right there in the name. It's the hair club for men. And now there's all these goddamn half-bald chicks walking around. I mean, what the fuck? Used to be a guy could go to the hair club and walk around nude, but no. Not anymore, Ryan's Priebus. None for you.
Mr. Chairman! Rhines?
Hey, Jimmy, I gotta go. It's starting to get dark out here, and night is when the dogs come.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. The dogs?
Jimmy, they're already here.
What?
Nice doggy. Good doggy. I might have a treat for you in the van. Ah, God, Jesus, help me.
What? What is happening? Mr. Chair, what happened, you think? I think those dogs ate him. It's a tough year for Ryan's Priebus.
I just crash landed in the middle of my life, and it's total peace.
I've been saying that if you're going to hold your nose and vote for Hillary Clinton, that's fine. The people who are doing that think that they're helping her when they defend her disingenuously. It doesn't. People know who Hillary Clinton is. So you can't BS people about her anymore. She's been in public eye for 30 years. We know who she is, right? So that's why when all these lefty journalists who are revealing that they have just as much integrity as right-wing journalists, when they write articles about how could she be corrupt? What are you talking about? There's no quid pro quo, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. It doesn't help her. Don't try to pretend she's honest. Don't try to pretend she's not in bed with Wall Street and the people she's supposed to be regulating. Say I'm holding my nose and voting for her because Donald Trump is a true menace. That might win you some votes. Pretending that Hillary Clinton isn't horrible just makes people more angry. It doesn't work. We pointed out on the show a million times how horrible guys like Peter Dow are and Joan Walsh and the editor of Mother Jones, that Clara Jeffrey. They're just ridiculous things they're writing. They were writing that Bernie was a sexist and he was a misogynist. They were writing that stuff and how Hillary is a better candidate in November.
Your wish, come on up.
And we all knew it, that they were gaslighting us and they were all wrong. So here's another example. I'm going to give you another example. Charlie Crist. Former governor of Florida.
Owner of Charlie Crist Steakhouse.
Charlie Crist Steakhouse. He's a sister of Ruth Crist. So he's at a debate. He's running for he's running for Senate in Florida now, right? Isn't that it? Yeah.
And he's very much a centrist.
He's very much a centrist. Now he's a Democrat. Right, that was the whole thing about him. He was an independent, and then the Republicans say this guy is a rhino, and so now he's running as a Democrat. And so listen to what he said at the debate just the other day, and he was talking about Hillary Clinton. And again, it doesn't help to lie. It doesn't help to try to BS your own voters about Hillary Clinton. How does that help? Here's going to be an example. This is at the Democratic debate. I represent.
Your party's nominee, Governor? I am proud of Hillary Clinton. I think she's been a very good Secretary of State, a very good senator from the state of New York.
Okay, stop there. Stop there. She was a very good Secretary of State. She was a very good, although she, Libya, I don't say that's a good Secretary of State. Just stop there. People don't know enough to push back yet on that. That she just was Secretary of State recently. We don't know enough about how horrible she was and all the bad things she did. We don't know about it yet. We do know she didn't take sniper fire like Brian Williams. So just stop there. But he can't. He can't stop there. He has to go one step too far. He has to try to BS the voters he wants to support him. Always a bad idea, especially when it's in aid of someone else. Here we go.
The thing I like most about her is I believe that she is steady. I believe that she is strong. I believe that she is honest. And I look forward to voting for her.
Oopsie. You just can't shut up. You can't. You had to push it too far. Just like Howard Dean the other day couldn't help himself. Oh, Hillary's feeling great. She's probably already in her bed talking to donors, Skyping with donors. Can't stop. You can't stop it. You're just so used to lying for her, you just can't stop. Yeah, what I like about her is she's steady and she's honest. Like you're lying about someone being honest.
Let me finish.
Let me finish. That was laughter. That wasn't booing. That was laughter. People laugh. That's laughing. Laughing is an involuntary response. Wasn't like people said if he ever says that, we're all going to laugh, right? No, they just laughed because they didn't even know he was going to say something that's stupid. Not helping. Lie. The thing that makes us different, or supposed to, or I always thought made us, one of the big differences of the left and the right, is that the right wing is all about propaganda and fooling voters into supporting a right-wing corporate agenda that screws them over and only helps the wealthy. I thought that was the right wing, and then their pundits do the same thing, pretending trickle-down works, and pretending that war is good, and pretending all that stuff. And now the left is doing it for her. And that doesn't help. It just makes half the people who aren't voting not want to vote more.
I don't think that's true. I think Chris actually there are substantial people within the Democratic Party who honestly feel like, oh, she's a very my experience with her has been she's been very sincere. She seems very honest to me, and they just run with that. They're not pulling one over on anybody. And then
Those people are the dumbest people in the world.
There's another element within.
So I don't know who. If you could give me a name, I would like to hear it because I don't believe that. I don't believe anybody who knows her thinks she's honest or sincere. I just don't agree with you. I don't. That you're just making that up.
No, I think that there are people who genuinely believe that.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm going to question the source on that one.
She's also corrupt. Everyone knows what's happening, Robert, in America. Everyone knows how corrupt our government is, our politics are. Everyone knows. Everyone knows the Iraq War was a lie, and she went along with it. Everyone knows this. She did that for politics. She let other people be murdered, slaughtered, genocide. She didn't even not genocide, slaughter of hundreds of thousands of people for oil, and she let it happen. In fact, she supported it. So no one thinks she's not who she is. Bill Clinton knows she's a liar. I know she's a liar. They're all liars. The whole system is corrupt. So stop saying that. That doesn't help anybody.
I'm not saying that she's not a liar.
I know you're not.
And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that there are plenty of people who genuinely feel she's not.
And we call those people marks.
But they're not. But I'm saying they're not. Why? They're not trying to put one over on you.
I don't know anybody like that.
Okay,
I don't. Everybody I know who even voted for, they go, yeah, of course she's corrupt. Of course.
Listen, I've heard you claim with a straight face.
What did I say?
That a Donald Trump presidency would be a good thing, and you were saying that in defense of your own position.
I'm not saying
there are plenty of fucking people who will say anything to defend their position, and if their position is Hillary Clinton, they will say with a straight face, and they will convince their fucking selves.
I'm not saying Donald Trump, but please don't misrepresent. I'm not saying Donald Trump would be a good thing.
You said it would be a good thing for this country because it would reignite the left.
Well, I'm saying let's make lemonade. I'm saying let's look for a silver lining. Let's not be so afraid of Donald Trump because of all those things I've said. Hillary Clinton has proven she's all the things people are afraid Donald Trump is going to be.
perfect situation for your brother.
This will be the 6th school in 2 years. Brilliant, right?
These are the DeMeos.
Where's the wheelchair ramp? A garbage ramp?
Are you trash? Are you a person?
I'm
You're a person, Dr. Miller. Oh, doctor.
They're relentless.
What is this now?
I'm raising awareness.
Of the fact that you're nuts?
They're fearless. Let's take the tour. They'll need you.
That's the finger.
Work in progress.
Speechless. Wednesdays on ABC.
So everybody's talking about how they're afraid of Donald Trump because he might try. He's crazy. You don't know what he might do. He might start a war.
Right.
And they go, you know what? Remember Ralph Nader? We're still paying for George Bush's mistakes. First of all, they weren't mistakes. They went into Iraq on purpose, and they made up a reason. And guess who went along with them? They couldn't have done it without the full-throated support of the former First Lady and Senator from New York, where 9/11 happened. So we're still paying for 9/11. We're still paying for Hillary Clinton's mistakes. So remember that when someone says that we're still paying for Bush, we're still paying for Hillary Clinton. I remember when being pro-Iraq war was a disqualifier. Now ignoring it is the progressive thing to do. It's not. It's horrible that she was for the Iraq war. I was alive then, and we all knew it was BS. So people are always Trump. I always point to that. And then I point to Libya, and then I point for Syria. She calls for a no-fly zone, which means if Russia flies a jet over there, we're supposed to shoot them down and start World War III. But the people are still worried about Trump. That's the weird thing. It's like, well, we don't know what Trump's going to do. I know what Hillary's going to do. She's going to start another war.
By the way, that's not true.
What's not true?
This week, Russians bombed a UN convoy because there wasn't an agreement with the Russians to not fly during the ceasefire. So your assessment of that is inaccurate. There should have been an agreement with the Russians that we're not going to fly during the ceasefire.
You mean an agreement with the Russians for a no-fly zone?
Right.
That's different.
That's different. It's different than what she originally proposed. But right now, there need to not be jets with bombs in the air.
We need to stop thinking we can fix anything in Syria with bombs. That's what we need. We need to stop thinking we can fix Iraq with a bomb, or Mosul with a bomb, or Afghanistan with a bomb, or Syria with a bomb, because every time we drop bombs, it gets a little worse.
I don't know, Jimmy. I think isn't our goal as the United States to spread democracy through the world?
And when those bombs explode, democracy flies right out of them. So I hear what you're saying, Robert. I also disagree. In a sense, yes, it would. In a perfect world, we would have a no-fly zone in the whole world, and so nobody would be dropping bombs on anyone. But here's why I bring this up, because Hillary Clinton, according to the International Business Times, she said that U.S. should use a military response to fight cyber attacks. That's pretty muscular. She says, here's what she said. We need to respond to evolving threats from states like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, Clinton said in his speech. We need a military that is ready and agile so it can meet the full range of threats and operate on short notice across every domain. Not just land, not just sea, air, and space, but also cyberspace. Yeah, we need to spend more money on the military.
That's not what she's talking about, though. She's talking about cyber defense. She's talking about something that the Pentagon has been begging for, more money for cyber defense. We have incredibly soft targets in terms of cyberspace, in terms of our energy grid, our communications grid, tons and tons of records and pieces of information. We have very, very weak cyber defense, and Russia and North Korea have very, very robust cyber attack capabilities. What she's talking about is something that very reasonable people inside not only the Pentagon, but throughout the executive branch have been begging for. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she's saying. It's completely accurate.
Well, the point I'm making, not that she's wrong to advocate for cyber defense. Certainly, we need cyber defense, and you're right. My point is that She's got a muscular military response to everything, and she's not afraid to say it or do it. And people keep pointing to Trump like he's reckless. And here's another quote from her, Robert. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and a military response. So it was enough for the International Business Times to point this out. I'm also recognizing it, and I'm also saying that she has got a military response for any problem.
You do understand that Trump's response would be bomb the shit out of them. What she's talking about is the three prongs that you use in international affairs, which are political, economic, and military. Those are the same things that go into even talking with the Dutch, for God's sakes. He would say, we're going to bomb the shit out of them. So I don't know that what you're saying is valid in terms of attacking Hillary Clinton.
What I'm saying, I guess you were, again, everything you're saying is correct. What I'm saying is that people who are, when Trump says we should bomb the shit out of them, she already has bombed the shit out of them. So that's the problem, right? She's already bombed the shit out of Iraq. She didn't call for prosecution of the people who ordered war crimes to cover up that war. She didn't call for that. She was the Secretary of State. She was a senator from New York. She already bombed the crap out of them. She was the instrumental in Libya happening. Also, she wanted a more muscular response to Syria than Barack Obama. So she always wants more. So the point of this is she likes military. She's not afraid of it. And it was enough for the International Business Times to point it out. I would use a military response to fight cyber attacks from Russia and China.
But you're making it sound like Trump wouldn't. Trump would do it
first.
Trump would do it first. No, he wouldn't just do it also. He would do it first.
Well, let me ask something to the gentleman here in the room. My little recollection of how when we attack another country, aren't we supposed to, isn't there a certain process to this that includes Congress?
Not anymore.
Not necessarily.
Not anymore. Right now, the Congress has usurped their power. They're supposed to only be the ones that declare war, but they passed this resolution for George Bush to go into Afghanistan, and we're still using that. They're still using that, correct, Robert? Am I wrong about that?
But it's also a declaration of war, which is what you're talking about, which is the constitutional issue. Got circumvented basically in the Korean War, where the executive branch can go around it and say, well, this is a police action, or it's part of a long-standing treaty we have. Like, there are any number of ways that a president can go around asking Congress for declaration of war or for authorization of war.
They can also just straight out lie at the UN to get support for it.
Well, yeah. The issue, one of the reasons why I don't agree with this, but one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton gets a little bit slack on Iraq is because the implication was that if Bush wanted to go to war with Iraq, he could have just done it. He didn't need to go to Congress. The reason why he went to Congress, it seemed at the time, was to create a threat. To basically say, I have authorization for war if you don't step up, if you don't do what I want you to do. And so he seemed like he was creating a threat he could use in negotiations with Iraq. What he actually, in point of fact, was doing was saying, I'm going to go to war with these fucking people and I just want a blank check for it. But a lot of people in Congress didn't know that that's what he was doing. They thought it was a negotiating tactic to basically put the military clearly on the line.
Hillary Clinton says she will use military response to fight cyber attacks. So if you think you're getting less of a war hawk with her than Donald Trump, you're mistaken. She is a legitimate war hawk. She brags about getting endorsed by John Negroponte. She talks about being buddies with Kissinger. So that's, I think, just as bad as saying you're friends with David Duke. When you say you're friend, David Duke, far as I know, not a war criminal. What's worse, a guy who's a racist with no power to do anything, or a guy who has power and kills millions of people?
Pretty sure David Duke never disappeared anybody in Chile.
Pretty sure. Here's what she said about Iran. Now, this, they asked her, she's not, my point is she's not afraid to also speak toughly. Here they asked her about
10 years during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel.
Hey, ready? So she's talking about what they would do with Iran if Iran launched an attack on Israel. You know, if they had a, this is what she says.
In the next 10 years during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them.
Okay, so that's a pretty tough to obliterate. She didn't say we would defend Israel. We would use military to defend against a military attack. She said we would obliterate them. That sounds very much like Ted Cruz when he says, "Let's turn it into a sandbox, or turn that into sandbox into glass." Remember, he says that kind of rhetoric.
I don't pay attention.
Yeah, I know, but that's what this sounds like to me, right? So I'm saying,
I mean, all she's doing is reiterating what's been policy forever, which is
obliterate,
mutually assured destruction. She's basically saying Iran has nukes. If they launch a nuke at Israel, they will be melted. And that's been standing policy pretty much since nuclear war has existed. So I don't see like what she's saying. I don't particularly like what she's saying, but I don't see that she's saying anything that every administration since Truman has said about the use of nuclear force.
Well, there's nothing really that Trump has said that we haven't already done. When he says we're going to kill the families of terrorists, we already do that. We already kill the families of terrorists. But not only we torture them, we kill them. It's called drone bombing, and anybody who happens to be standing around the guy we're trying to kill gets killed too.
It's not a matter of policy.
So Chomsky has referred to our drone program as the biggest terrorist program in the world. So I'm just saying, all this stuff about everybody's Trump is worse than everybody else. What I'm trying to point out is he's not. He just puts an asshole face on the stuff that we're already doing and stuff that people are already saying. I have other video clips and other videos that show her, I voted for a wall. I voted for a barrier between Mexico. So she called black kids super predators. She's for private.
By the way, every single person in the Senate and the Congress who voted for the last immigration bill voted for a wall. That's the reality of things. That bill that was, everybody touted as, every Republican touted as this horrible, path to citizenship was anything but. And it had every feature of a wall you could possibly want, including a wall.
So my point is that Trump is just kind of revealing, he's pulling the scab off, and we get to see America. We get to see how people are afraid of, he might be a loose cannon. What the hell is she? Her track record proves she's nothing but a warmongering loose cannon who brags about hanging out with war criminals and said we would obliterate Iran and use military to fight cyber attacks. I'm just saying, and she brags about hanging out with John Negroponte and Henry Kissinger. So he might brag about hanging out with David Duke. She brags about hanging out with John Negroponte and Kissinger. So my point is, you don't hear this point of view, mine, anywhere else. You won't hear anyone else saying this anywhere else about that Donald Trump is just revealing how ugly our culture has become, because he is revealing it, and it's not just him. Because I can point to exactly what you just said. Everybody voted for a wall. Is it bad because Trump says it out loud? When he says that a certain group are all criminals, she called them super predators. She gutted welfare. I'm just saying that this is so. This is why we need a revolution, because the things that disgust us are very similar to the things we're going to vote for. So Wells Fargo, if you watch the show, bankers are all criminals. And the reason why they're all criminals is because they bought the lawmakers. So now they told the lawmakers to rewrite the laws so that their criminal activity is now legal. And even when they still break the law, they don't get prosecuted because the people who are supposed to prosecute them are also in the pocket of them, and they say, oh, it would cause too much disruption to the banking industry to prosecute people, so we don't. So why does horrible things keep happening? Because no one gets prosecuted. If you don't prosecute somebody, it's guaranteed it will happen again. So we're going to have another banking crash, and we're going to have much more banking fraud right out in the open, brazen, like what Wells Fargo did. Wells Fargo created 1.5 million illegal, corrupt, fraudulent accounts. They charged their own customers. They were ripping off their own. They had to fire over 5,000 people, and the guys at the top said they didn't know anything about it. Yes. So here, it's a long story, but what they were doing was they were having their employees keep making these opening fraudulent accounts and closing fraudulent accounts, and that way it would puff up their stock because it would make it look like to their investors that they get way more accounts, they get way more business. They know they're blah, blah. So they raised their stock prices. The guys at the top who own the company, they cashed it in. They're golden. So here is Elizabeth Warren, and she's talking to the CEO of Wells Fargo after they just got fined $180 million and had to fire over 5,000 people for committing fraud against their own customers. And it wasn't an accident, so this means it's a business model built on fraud. Wells Fargo. So somebody should go to jail. Nobody's going to jail. Nobody's even losing their job. They're not even asked to give back the money that they made from the stock raise. So Elizabeth Warren has had enough of it. And she said this just this week to them. This is in Congress this week.
You haven't resigned. You haven't returned a single nickel of your personal earnings. You haven't fired a single senior executive. Instead, evidently, your definition of accountable is to push the blame to your low-level employees who don't have the money for a fancy PR firm to defend themselves. It's gutless leadership. Other big banks average fewer than 3 accounts per customer, but you set the target at 8 accounts. Every customer of Wells should have 8 accounts with the bank. And that's not because you ran the numbers and found that the average customer needed 8 banking accounts. It is because, quote, 8 rhymes with great. This was your rationale right there in your 2010 annual report.
Wow, that's really strong stuff. Really strong stuff. It's weird. It's weird that she's so upset about these bankers because she's full-throatedly supporting someone who's in bed with those same bankers. Maybe if you would have supported a guy, there was a guy running in this last primary who was for regulating them and rooting out all this stuff that's driving her crazy. His name was Bernie Sanders. She didn't support him. That's gutless. She's saying he's gutless. That's gutless. A guy finally comes along who's a progressive. You're in a position of power to do something about it, and now you're going to wag your finger? Hey, but guess what? The president is a frickin' Democrat right now. There's more. She's got more to say to this guy.
Do you know how much the value of your stock went up while this scam was going on?
It's all of my compensation is in our public.
Do you know how much it was?
It's all in the public filing.
Oh, you're right. It is all in the public records because I looked it up. While this scam was going on, you personally held an average of 6.75 million shares of Wells stock. The share price during this time period went up by about $30, which comes out to more than $200 million in gains, all for you personally. You know, here's what really gets me about this, Mr. Stump. If one of your tellers took a handful of $20 bills out of the cash drawer, they'd probably literally be looking at criminal charges for theft. They could end up in prison. But you squeezed your employees to the breaking point so they would cheat customers, and you could drive up the value of your stock and put hundreds of millions of dollars in your own pocket. And when it all blew up, you kept your job, you kept your multi-million-dollar bonuses, and you went on television to blame thousands of $12 an hour employees who were just trying to meet cross-sell quotas that made you rich. This is about accountability. You should resign. You should give back the money that you took while this scam was going on, and you should be criminally investigated by both the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission.
What I'm glad is that it's not just Elizabeth Warren saying that. It's also Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine. Oh, it's not. It's not. People in her party, not saying it's that, just her. And this is her grandstanding. I don't want to say grandstanding. This needs to be said. So it's good that she's saying this. It's just weird that when she actually had a chance to affect policy, when she could have done something, when she could have stood behind a guy who wanted to put those guys in jail, this guy she's wagging her finger at, who's controls our government, which is why he's not in jail, which is why he gets to take his $100 million and go home after he committed fraud. Because they own our government. There was a candidate there who wanted to do all that stuff. So it's real hard for me. I have really mixed emotions about Elizabeth Warren. There was a chance to clean this stuff up. Do you think it's going to stop under Hillary Clinton? Do you really think it's going to stop under Hillary Clinton? She picked Tim Kaine, who to the further to the right, he wants to deregulate Wall Street more. And this is who you're supporting. Because you didn't have the guts to stand up for your country when it mattered. Anything, Robert? What do you think?
I mean, it's just such an easy way for her to get her name on the scoreboard.
It just seems that way to me. And I don't want to say that,
but it's toothless. There's what marks does it leave? The guy. So this is the price he pays for being a super wealthy corporate CEO. Is he have to sit there and be embarrassed for 8 minutes? He gets embarrassed
he's got $145 million. Yeah. I think he's going to be okay.
I'll go to the principal's office.
Go to the principal's office
for that much money.
And by the way, he looks around that committee and he's got, I own all these people.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed. Yeah. We got this one little upstart. She doesn't know her place.
Right.
So
she doesn't know her place. We'll show her place.
Yeah.
So about 2 weeks ago, I'm watching NBC News and Nightly News at 6 p.m. They highlight how 2 black women have been stealing cosmetics. They show their picture and they ask, not just one night, but 2 nights in a row, showing these 2 women.
I know, I saw that.
Stealing cosmetics. And they highlight these women so everybody's on the lookout.
On the lookout.
These 2 women
stealing cosmetics.
Who stole cosmetics.
Meanwhile, Wells Fargo is committing fraud against their millions of their own customers systematically. There's no picture on TV where to go get those people. There's no picture.
John G. Stump, Mr. John G. Stump, is a piece of shit.
Oh, that's a school teacher. That's a school teacher.
In a country that took this kind of thing seriously, there'd be like a bailiff. Some guy would come up behind this dude. Yeah, this would be a courtroom. And he'd say, "Sir, put your hands behind your back. Please stand up. Put your hands behind your back." And they'd escort him out into a cage where he belongs. But that's not what happens. He just gets yelled at. He goes into his limo, goes to get a nice meal, probably yells at his wife about it or something. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he has a bad night, maybe. Probably not. Talks to his lawyer longer than usual. Big deal.
So there's not going to be... So I guess our real problem is, again and again and again, there's no justice.
There's no justice for... Again, we live in a completely corrupted society. It started when we let Nixon subvert the Constitution and not have to pay a price for it. So now people in power don't pay a price. Right? People get to do war crimes. We get to crash the economy while stealing money from hardworking Americans, crashing the economy while putting money in their own pockets. We order torture to cover up illegal wars. And nobody goes to prison. There's not even talk of it. In fact, when some people stand up and say enough is enough, like Occupy Wall Street, the Democratic president lets union cops bust their heads from coast to coast. Peaceful protesters. That's the country we live in. It's an oligarchy, and that's why if you think voting for Hillary Clinton is going to help anything, you are nutso. There's a little bit more to this.
I'm not sure what you're getting out of shitting on Elizabeth Warren, who's one of the few people actively in government who agrees with you.
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people feel like me whenever they see her do this. It's like, there was a chance you could have really made a super big difference, and you didn't. And you called that guy gutless when your country needed you to make a difference, and you didn't. And you let your own Democratic National Committee be corrupted so much that they put their thumb on the scale for someone who's in bed with these guys. And she didn't scream about it. And she didn't say anything about it at all. In fact, she's now supporting the candidate who's in bed with these guys, Robert. That's why I'm saying this about Elizabeth Warren. It doesn't take any guts to do what she's doing, and it doesn't take any guts when she wags her finger at Trump. What takes guts is to stand up to corruption in her own party, something she can do something about. So that's what I'm saying. And I have mixed emotions, like I said. I understand your point. She's one of the good ones, right, Elizabeth Warren? We have the Consumer Protection Bureau because of her, right? So it's with a heavy heart that I say this stuff about her. And it's about time, though. People have to start standing up to the neoliberals in our own party. And if she would have did it, if she would have got behind Bernie Sanders, we would have a different country right now. Because Bernie Sanders would have won. And she would win if she would have ran. Anybody would have beat what's happening. People want change. And Hillary Clinton is status quo to the nth degree, and people know it, which is why she's neck and neck right now in the polls with an orangutan racist xenophobe who is a complete incompetent. That's what's happening. So moments come in life. Her moment came and she missed it. Hopefully she'll get another moment. I don't see it happening, because I see either Donald Trump's going to be president or Hillary Clinton's going to be president. I don't see where she fits in any of that. So you know that Hillary said she would put Bill in charge of the economy if she's president. We all know Bill would prefer to be in charge of the White House interns, am I right? Come on.
He's a little hard.
It's a job, somebody's got to do it.
He's a randy fella.
Somebody's got to do it.
He likes the ladies.
But he was being interviewed. I'm telling you, people, when they try to go help Hillary Clinton on television by being interviewed, it just hurts her. I'm just telling you. So here's Bill, and he's trying to help her on Squawk Box. So let's listen, because I say it.
What do you think about TPP? Because a lot of people look at that as the legacy for NAFTA.
Well, first of all, I don't think it has anything to do with NAFTA, but I think that the geopolitical reasons for it, from America's point of view, are pretty clear. That it's designed.
It's pretty clear why we need it. Nice.
To make sure that the future of the Asia Pacific region economically is not totally dominated by China. I think it's pretty clear what Hillary said about it, and that is that there needs to be provisions on currency manipulation that are enforced, and there need to be, again, measures put in place in America so that we take care of whatever dislocation ever happens simultaneously. Everybody makes nice about doing something about it, and then, at least for the last 20 years, for most of the time, Congress never wanted to do it. Yeah. And you just can't do that. It's not true. In places, especially where there's physical isolation, the market economy will not make up the difference unless there is a real investment or a real investment incentive, or both.
What's the right corporate tax rate to make sure that you're bringing...
So there he is on the TPP. Again, he's making the case. Got to have it.
Jimmy, I was ready for him to say, excuse me, what was the question? He didn't seem like it was very direct or sufficient, and I don't understand what he said. Geopolitical?
the geopolitical reasons for the TPP are clear from America's standpoint. So what he's doing is he's winking and nodding at the donors. Right, Robert? When you agree that's what that is, like, hey, don't worry about it. We know why we need this, and blah, blah, blah. I mean...
No, I think Bill Clinton likes to talk policy is the reality.
So you think
I think he went in and he was just off message. And the reality is, I think he just likes to talk policy. And he's for the TPP. He was explaining like, oh, I'm for the TPP. I think it needs to be fixed this way. Da, da, da. And it never occurred to him like, oh wait, this is not good campaigning. This is like he just really likes talking policy.
It's not good campaigning.
I like that he clarified that it wasn't connected to NAFTA.
No, so I don't think it's connected to NAFTA.
Let's not talk about NAFTA.
So here he's going to talk about the corporate tax rate.
And income, but also incentivizing businesses to be investing here in America. Is it 15%? Is it 35%? Is it somewhere in between?
I was the president who urged it to be raised to 35%. But when I did it, it was precisely in the middle of the OECD countries. It isn't anymore. So I think it should be lowered. This is just me now. I'm not speaking for you. I think it should be lowered.
Yeah, you should stop speaking. Because this is not helping Hillary. You coming on saying, I think we gotta be a little bit friendlier to the corporate. Everyone is screaming. Ireland's trying to get taxes back from Apple. And everybody knows that the elites have rigged the global economy to screw everybody. That's why we know it. Look what you're doing to Greece. That had a lot to do with Brexit, even though people want to ignore it. That has a lot to do with Trump, even though people want to pretend it has nothing to do with it. Economic insecurity is what's breeding this electoral system, why people won't come out for Hillary because of that. And we all know, Lou Dobbs told us that everybody knows the effective tax rate on corporations in America is about 17%. Everybody knows that.
Technically, the corporate tax rate in Ireland is 12%, but in effectiveness, it's below 1%. So, I think Clinton is talking about like competing with Ireland, clawing back, things like that. But he's a wonk. I mean, the thing that I really miss about Clinton is that he's like, well, here's what I think and here's why I think it, and he's willing to get into the details where you can actually like pull apart, like, okay, this is what I think is wrong with that, instead of just talking these broad strokes. And I really have always loved that about Clinton. He likes to talk about things in detail, but he's a horrible campaigner because of it.
Well, he is here.
This is
that
not
doesn't help. Right?
You know.
Hank, do you think that helps?
No, not at all. I think it's also safe to say that Michelle Obama's vegetable garden isn't going to be doing so good. He ain't taking care of it when he's first lady. That's what I'm saying. What I mean, though, is about him. He can't resist.
You want to cut that part out, feel free.
Hell no, that's staying in. You kidding? This is the Hank show. No, he can't resist. That kind of what Robert said, though. He can't resist getting into the muck. He loves this sort of stuff. He loves being. I mean, it serves his ego. He's going to get in the White House, and he's not going to be a passive first husband or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying Michelle was either, but she was pretty active. But yeah,
America needs to cut back on their corporate taxes the way Chris Christie needs to cut back on his vegetables.
Yeah.
And every time I see President Clinton, I think the reason our country is where we are is because of him. I ultimately hold him accountable for all the stuff that
deregulated Wall Street, deregulated the telecommunications. That's why we only have 6 companies controlling all our news. What else did he do? Yeah, he did the deregulation of Wall Street. He did the deregulation of telecommunications. I'm sure he did some more.
Destroyed welfare.
He gutted welfare.
NAFTA.
That's right. NAFTA. Yep.
But by the way, let me say something about NAFTA and about the TPP. And he very briefly touched on it. One of the things that I think people miss about NAFTA and the TPP is part of what they were designed to do was help people in third world countries. They were supposed to raise standards of living in third world countries, and that's part of what's in TPP. And he very briefly touched on it. And I think that a lot of people don't give that credit. Like, that was the intention. I don't know that it worked. I don't think it did. But there were good, solid reasons for it from a standpoint of, like, trying to fucking help people around the globe.
Are you talking about where he talked about the remote geographical islands and he punched his hand?
Right.
That sounded like colonialism to me. It's like, these people, they don't have market economies. We're going to bring it to them. And it's going to be under our evil rules, not China's evil rules. I mean, that's really what this is. This is basically the United States needs this now before China has more leverage.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. And
because they're the real hegemonic partner in the Pacific.
You know, and I was also highlighting the idea that that's why I got a Bush presidency, is because of his presidency.
That's right. Yeah.
People weren't excited about Al Gore. They didn't show up, and a lot of Democrats voted for George Bush. A lot of them. A lot of Democrats voted for George Bush, especially in Florida.
And now that I hear President Bush Sr. is supporting Hillary Clinton, I'm like, okay.
Of course, it's one big, again, it's like George Carlin said, it's one big club and you're not in it. It's one big club and we ain't in it.
We're going to go to Elk Grove, Michigan. That's my hometown. Let's go save the world. You're Ash Williams. Demon Hunter. Hero and hippie. Send them back to hell. Night-night.
That is horrible and also awesome.
Which is everything that I do.
So, you've been noticing that cops are a little jumpy in America, and they shoot a lot of people, especially black people. I was reading this article in a magazine called Quartz, and it said
the magazine about rocks.
About rocks. Huh. And this is by somebody named Sarah Kendzior, and she posits that Freddie Gray verdict, the U.S. police officers who really get punished, but they might get rich. And she goes on to say, she says that in the United States, police officers can kill without consequence. That's the and what is her evidence of this? She says the latest confirmation of this injustice came today, June 23rd, when this was written, when Baltimore officer Cesar Goodson Jr., 46, was found not guilty of all charges related to the death of the 25-year-old Freddie Gray. Previously, on May 23rd, police officer Edward Nero was similarly acquitted in Gray's death. So that's her number one evidence that cops can kill with impunity. Within 2 weeks of that shooting, a GoFundMe page was set up. Oh, she's talking about Darren Wilson here. So when Darren Wilson killed Mike Brown in St. Louis, or in Ferguson, so she's talking about the Ferguson, they say the Ferguson effect is cops are afraid to kill people anymore. We know that's not true.
That hasn't borne out
She's
at all.
saying the real Ferguson effect is that cops can kill with impunity and then they get paid money afterwards. That's what she's saying, the real Ferguson effect is that cops know they can kill with impunity and they'll get rich afterwards. And she points to Darren Wilson, who killed Mike Brown, shot 12 bullets at him. The guy was unarmed, whatever, because he was black and he looked like he was a demon. So within 2 weeks after he killed Mike Brown, a GoFundMe page set up to support Darren Wilson, raised $225,000. Despite online protests, a second GoFundMe was soon created, raising his total to $433,000. $500,000 you get for killing a black guy who's unarmed, if you're a racist. In November 2014, after St. Louis prosecutor Bob McCullough chose not to charge Wilson, a Wilson fundraising organizer revealed that an outpouring of additional donations had raised Wilson's total to roughly $1 million. Holy smokes! So So she says the real Ferguson effect is the way Americans have learned that they can kill young unarmed black men and face no legal repercussions, and may even receive a financial reward. In a country built on slave labor, where lynchings was viewed as entertainment, unpunished killings of black men are hardly new. So this is the real Ferguson effect. In December 2015, Timothy Loman, the officer who shot and killed Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old Cleveland boy playing with a toy gun in a park, was acquitted of all charges. There's nobody you can kill as a cop where it's going to be bad for you. In February 2016, the city of Cleveland sued Rice, the Rice family, Tamir Rice's family, for not paying the $500 bill for the ambulance that took their dead son to the... What?
Wow, I thought Cleveland sucked before.
Wow. Rice's lawyer described the attempt at financial extraction as an insult to homicide, and it was retracted later that month.
Well, that was kind.
That was nice of them.
Yeah.
That was nice of them. In April 2016, Cleveland itself had to pay up $6 million, was awarded to the Rice family after a civil lawsuit. But even then, police would not admit guilt. The court filing states there was no admission of wrongdoing. But they paid him $6 million. But we didn't do anything wrong. Here's $6 million of taxpayer money. Doesn't come out of the retirement fund of the cops who killed them. Doesn't come out of the cops union. Doesn't come out of the police department's funding. It doesn't. It comes from you. They go out and murder a 12-year-old kid, and then you pay for it, and they don't pay a goddamn thing. Nothing. That's our culture. And I just showed you another video. One of the police jobs, one of the safest jobs in the country. Safest jobs in the country.
I gotta be honest, I didn't know Cleveland had $6 million.
I didn't know they had $6 million either.
I mean, if you had $6 million, would you leave your city like Cleveland? Because
even when an officer accused of killing an unarmed black man is actually charged, the financial outcomes can be questionable. In November 2015, Chicago officer Jason Van Dyke was charged in the 2014 murder of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald after a graphic video showing Van Dyke shooting McDonald 16 times in 13 seconds. Wow. That same month, a GoFundMe allegedly created by Van Dyke's wife raised over $10,000 before GoFundMe shut it down, claiming it violated their terms and conditions. GoFundMe refused to do the same thing in the Darren Wilson case. Isn't that weird? Isn't that funny? And in December 2015, Van Dyke was indicted by a grand jury on 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of official misconduct. That's the first time a Chicago officer had been charged with first-degree murder of an on-duty fatality in 35 years. 35 years. Wow. So this is all going to her point. The Ferguson effect is that cops can murder with impunity and then they get money out of it. This is the first time in 35 years. And only because the videotape surfaced.
What was that one 35 years ago?
What was that?
What was that? Like,
what was that?
It was probably some fat Chicago sergeant pulled a black guy out of his car, walked him in front of the cameras, beat him to death, and said, I thought you had a gun.
Again, a multi-million-dollar settlement was offered, with the McDonald family receiving $5 million from the city whose officer had killed their son. So that $5 million does not come from the police. It does not come from that guy's pension fund. It does not come from this. It comes from you. Then you pay it. So she goes on to say perhaps the most notorious example of the real Ferguson effect is the May 2016 auction of the gun George Zimmerman, whose killing of a black teenager, Trayvon Martin, in 2012 was deemed self-defense. Zimmerman has remained boastfully unrepentant since his trial. But the sale of the gun for $250,000 revealed a new level of shamelessness and showcased again just how the murder of black men has been monetized in America. So George Zimmerman walking around with $250,000 for killing him.
I have a question. If you're the kind of person who will give happily to a GoFundMe for a racist criminal, essentially, I don't think you get to complain about taxes.
Ha! I agree. If you don't complain about this, about all the money that they're paying out, I mean, all the money that Los Angeles pays out for police brutality every year, I mean, they had to pay out millions of dollars for the way they treated the Occupy Wall Street people. None of those cops got fired. That money doesn't come out of there. They didn't have to change how they police. They're gonna do the same thing next time. And you know what will happen? They'll get fined, and the citizens will pay a fine. Nothing happens to the cops. Nothing happens to the commanders. Nothing happens to the police chief. Nothing. Nothing happens. They abuse citizens, and then you pay for their abuse. And they don't get fired. They don't get fined. Nothing. That's our culture.
And what's worse is we've had however many of these cases in the last 5 years, and not once has the Justice Department said, okay, that's it. We need to rethink how policing is done across the board.
Not happening.
That's got to happen.
Not happening yet. Still not happening. They still say bad apples. They still say most of the cops are good. They still say that stuff. Most of the cops lie when another cop commits a crime. Most of the cops cover for murderers. So most of the cops need to be supervised because they're potential criminals. Most of the cops. Most. Not all. Most. It's a culture problem. It's not an individual cop problem. It's not a bad apple problem. It's a culture problem. Those guys who shot that guy in the street in Tulsa, those guys who shot Laquan McDonald in Chicago, they all lied immediately. Oh, he wasn't responding to commands. He was coming at us.
And by the way, by Chicago standards, that's progress. Because it used to be that Chicago's police officers, a cadre with them, would kidnap somebody, take them out, torture them, and kill them.
They still do that.
I'm telling you, if they took a fraction of the amount of money that they estimate they're going to pay out in lawsuits in the next 10 years, they took a fraction of that money and studied the way effective policing could be done without these kind of things happening, they would fix it. They would not have to pay out those tens and tens of millions of dollars in lawsuits that they are guaranteed rock solid going to have to pay out over the next 10 years. All of these municipalities.
Country's biggest cop union just endorsed Trump. Sleep tight, America. It's a great country, great culture.
This week only, don't order Domino's over the phone. Order online. This week only, order any pizza online at menu price and get the second one free when you carry out.
So we just witnessed another shooting of an unarmed black guy in the middle of the street. His car broke down, he had his hands over his head, and the cop shot him dead. I'm going to guess nothing's going to happen to that cop. Just like nothing happened to Darren Wilson or those guys who choked Eric Garner on camera or the guys who shot Tamir Ross. Nothing. Right? Because I was reading this. First of all, what are the most dangerous jobs in America? Because cops say that their number one job is that they have to come home safe at night, right? That's their number one job. Barack Obama has said that. Cops' number one job is to make sure they come home safe at night, which that's not their job. Their job is to make sure we come home safe at night. That's why they're supposed to risk their life, which is why we're supposed to give them deference, respect, and a gun. Okay. All right. So that's not their job. Their job is to risk their life, right? You would never hear a fireman say, my job is to make sure I come home at night. Hey, there's a burning building. No, thank you. I got a wife. So,
cool to see a fireman shooting at a fire.
Just shoot it. Shoot the fire. They called cops. Cops would show up and start shooting the fire. I told the fire did not respond to any of our commands. We tased it. It
That's also a great way to get a kitten out of a tree.
Shoot it.
Yeah.
Just shoot.
Don't risk anything.
So Time Magazine did a thing, the most dangerous jobs in America, because it seems like cops are the jumpiest guys in the world, and then the state gives them guns. They're the jumpiest guys in the world. They're killing Americans left and right all the time. They don't do it in other countries. So what are the most dangerous jobs in America? You think cops got to be way up there, right? Because they're so jumpy, and everybody's got to be worried about cops. Worried about cops. Turns out, what?
I thought it was like things like fishermen, oil rig worker, things like that.
Well, here, let's take a look, Robert.
Oh.
Here we go. The number one dangerous job. Loggers. A logger. Couldn't have paper without loggers, right? Couldn't have carpentry without log. Couldn't have stuff.
Couldn't have logs.
Now, does anybody say those loggers risking their lives so I can have a thank you card? Nobody's saying that. How about you send a thank you card to the logger? No one says that. No one goes, hey, those guys are risking their lives for us. No one says that. Here's number 2.
And by the way, you probably need wood and paper in your life more than you need a cop.
I would say. Every day I use wood and paper. I don't use cops hardly ever. Number 2, fishermen. So the next time you're enjoying a bit of sushi, you say thanks to those fishermen who risk their lives. They're heroes. Right? They don't even wear bulletproof vests. Number 3, aircraft pilots and flight engineers. Fatal injuries per 100,000. 110 loggers die per 100,000. That's pretty. 80 fishermen die per 100,000. 64 airline pilots. Roofers. Used to be a roofer. Dan, I'm blanking on his last name, had a great joke, so I can't tell it. I can't remember his last name. So garbage men, number 5, dangerous job. So the next time you see that guy dumping your garbage in the back of a truck, you go, that's for you, buddy. Tough guys, risking your life to take out our trash.
And by the way, that doesn't include a lot of the OSHA issues. Like those guys get exposed to a lot of really dangerous chemicals that
garbage men
cause all. Well, especially recycling guys.
Yeah.
They get exposed to just horrible, like mercury.
Just the stuff I put in the recycling.
Yeah.
They want you to wash out the recycling now, right?
But they get all the free porn, I throw.
I think they do get all the free porn.
To be fair.
Number 6, farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural managers. Not even work managers. Number 7, iron workers and steel workers. Number 7, 25 out of 100,000 get killed every year.
Which is mind-blowing given the fact that they sit on girders hundreds of feet above the earth.
Dangerous job.
Yeah, but that they're only number 7.
And it's amazing how you almost never hear about steel workers shooting a building. It's dangerous, but they never shoot the building.
They shoot it with rivets.
They shoot it with rivets, you're right.
And love.
So truck drivers are number 8. Truck drivers and just drivers in general who like pizza truck drivers, like anybody who does sales and drives. Number 9, electrical power line installers and repairers. They're number 9 most fatal.
Oh, it's
dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous job.
Yeah, have you seen that? They fly up on a helicopter and they hold out a rod to get to ground them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi stuff that those guys do.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And by the way, the pilot is number 3 on the list.
Yeah. Well, they climb the towers as well.
How about taxi drivers and chauffeurs? Number 18. Takes a lot of guts to be attacked because they're getting killed left and right. Number 11, construction workers, trades, extraction workers. So first line supervisors of construction trades. Number 12, construction laborers. Cops aren't anywhere, they're not even in the top 12. Isn't that weird? You would think with all the Americans we let them shoot and how pretend dangerous we make their job sound, it's not dangerous. Being a cop doesn't even crack the top 10. It doesn't even crack the top 12 dangerous jobs in America, yet we're all been fed this propaganda that it's a scary job and they risk their lives every day. They don't risk their lives every day. They don't. You know whose lives they risk? Yours. They're risking your life every day because the minute they get jumpy, they're going to shoot you. Here's some more. Number 13, landscapers, lawn workers. Number 13, higher than cops. Yes, 16.4 per 100,000. Yes. Landscaping, lawn service, and groundskeeping workers, first-line supervisors.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 14, maintenance and repair workers in general. Number 15, police and sheriff. 15.
13.5 per 100,000 annually.
Fatal accidents or whatever deaths annually per 100,000. So this is the total number of deaths per year, and this is per 100,000.
Okay.
So total deaths per year of grounds maintenance workers 158, mechanics 38, and painters, construction. So cops is 15. So 97 cops a year, and that's 13 per 100,000. Not that many. In fact, it doesn't even crack the top 10 of most dangerous jobs in America. Fisherman, more dangerous.
I wouldn't think it cracks even the top 100 of causes of death in the country.
Hey, and the only reason why those loggers and fishermen are dying is
cops are shooting them. I fucked that. The cops are shooting them.
Because cops are shooting them.
Cops are walking deep into the Northwest.
That's right.
Shooting loggers and then just walking home.
Yeah. Did you hear that? Oh, shit. I saw that guy. That tree went for a gun.
Yeah. Show your hands. I'm holding a log.
Too late. Yeah. Could I shoot you? So just keep this in mind. Oh, by the way, this is from that Time article. It says whether it's logging, fishing, or agriculture jobs, when you're working in the wilderness type settings, you're not right there next to a facility that can bail you out. So that means a lot of times you get hurt on the job when you're logging, you're just dead. Right? Or you're fishing, or you're too far away from medical help and stuff happens, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, so get a load of that.
Well, what's striking to me is that the United States will get all up in arms about something that causes 97 deaths a year.
97.
A job that has 97 deaths a year, they will not get up in arms about firearms. Firearms cause 12,000 deaths a year. That's the conservative
number.
And that doesn't include injuries.
Right.
They won't get up in arms about any number of things in our diet that are clearly causing huge numbers of deaths per year, and also being a huge financial social drain. I mean, it's because cops still have this mythos around them that
there's some kind of a hero there to save you. They're not.
Right.
I know cops. My grandpa was a cop. My dad was a cop. My oldest brother's a cop. Some of my best friends in Chicago were cops, or still are. And they take those jobs because those are the best jobs they can get with their level of education. And some of them were bullied, and the other ones were bullies. That's my experience, okay?
I mean, does anybody look at this list and think to yourself, oh my God, we need to have more respect and deference for roofers?
Yeah, come on, give it up for the roofers and the garbage men, ladies and gentlemen. More dangerous job than a cop. They don't carry a gun. They don't bring a gun. Shoot that can. They don't carry guns. Fishermen, they're not shooting the fish.
Although it would make it more interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be greater TV.
But a fisherman's number one job is to bring fish home to his wife. That's what's most important.
Does this look like a man who would kill his wife? You decide. New season.
Let the grieving husband contaminate my crime scene.
New story.
When a wife is murdered, 9 times out of 10, the husband did it.
New suspect. Did he?
Cornell is a good cop. She will figure it out.
Or didn't he?
I did not kill my wife.
If you want to arrest me, Come and get me. Secrets and Lies premieres Sunday, 9, 8 Central on EC.
Hey, everybody. So I'm here with Dave Ronitz and Steph Zamorano. And we all heard the controversy last week. Donald Trump said he no longer thinks President Obama was born outside the country. Ha-ha! He said that somebody else Hillary Clinton started the birther thing, and Trump has ended it. That's what he said.
I'm glad we got this straightened out. I feel so much better.
So there's been a lot of confusion over who really did start the birther thing. It's tough to tell. But I do know this. I know when Hillary Clinton tweeted out, President Obama's successor cannot and will not be the man who led the racist birther movement, period. Well, here's a guy named Jay Masher. He's got a blue check next to his name, so that means he's important. He says, oh, really, Hillary Clinton? So why did your man, Sidney Blumenthal, very close confidant of the Clintons, spread the Obama birther rumor to me in 2008, asking us to investigate it? Do you remember that?
Oh, James Asher.
And who is Jay Masher? He's the Washington editor for Injustice Watch. It's an investigative nonprofit. So you know this guy's on the take. He worked for a nonprofit. And he used to be the Washington bureau chief for the McClatchy Company, which is by the way, they do great work, the McClatchy Group. They're one of the last newspapers. And that guy says that Hillary Clinton, they spread it. They started it back in 2000. We all know that they sent out that picture of Obama in the Kenyan garb, right? They did. So and we also said that, Hillary Clinton also said, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in California in June, so you never know what's going to happen. That's why I'm staying in the primary. And then when Trump says the second, everybody goes nuts. Anything Trump has said, I can point to something Hillary has said, just almost as bad. The wall thing, Hillary voted for a barrier 3 times.
A barrier's not a wall.
Trump said he wants to, that's right, Trump said he wants to kill or torture the families of terrorists. She just kills them. The Iraq War. Libya. She wants to be more aggressive in Syria. She wants to have a no-fly zone, which means confrontation with Russia. And when Donald Trump kept pushing the birther thing when it was obviously racist. But according to this guy, James Asher, it was Hillary Clinton back in 2008 also spreading this. Yes. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, her campaign kept questioning, how American is Obama exactly? How much more American is she contrasted to his background?
And when they were asked, do you believe that Barack Obama is a Christian? Do you think he's a Christian? Hillary Clinton would say, well, I take him at his word, which is also code. Code for, I take him at his word. I take him at his word. Don't you have to take everybody at their word that they're the religion they say they are? Or do you investigate people? When Haley Barbour told you he was a Christian, you go, well, I take him at his word if he says.
You would have to take him at his word.
I would.
I would take him at his word that he thinks he's a Christian. But the whole hating people thing, pretty un-Christ-like.
Pretty. So there you go. James Asher. I bet he's lying, and Clintons are going to sue him. So when people say you have to vote for Hillary Clinton because of climate change, and they do it with a straight face.
It's absurd.
It's absurd, right?
It's absurd on its face. She supports dirty energy and even beyond dirty energy. I mean,
and now you're Mark Thompson. You're an Emmy Award winner.
I am. This is Mark Thompson, an Emmy.
Now, Mark, are you an official meteorologist?
No, I'm a trained weather forecaster.
Yeah, so you are informed a little.
Yeah, a little bit. But
about climate change, I mean.
Yes, but you don't even have to get what I was going to say. You don't even get to the climate. When you talk about fracking, you're talking about defiling parts of the planet so that the water supplies are ruined forever. I'm talking about, so we're not even talking about raising temperatures of the climate. You know, is it natural? Is it man-made? Whatever. I mean, that's not even arguable, but I mean, there are people who argue it nonetheless. But I'm talking about ruining the water supply forever. That's a long time. I mean, you can never again use these water supplies around so many of these areas that involve fracking. I'm talking about in Oklahoma and in the Central Plains and even in California. And it's also as a result the ruining of these of water as a result of the agricultural processes. I'm talking about the meat industry and these are the fecal matter and runoff from these huge industrial farming plants is ruining the water supplies. Now, some of those water supplies we can bring back, but the same old environmental policies, which is what Hillary Clinton is all about, because she's in the pocket of corporate interests without question, that just won't cut it. That is not an environmental policy. I mean, Obama's a better environmental policy than she has, and he's just an all-you-can-eat policy. I mean, he basically tries to mollify everybody. Exactly.
Yeah, and he's trying to he's pushing the TPP, which is also bad for climate change.
That's awful. TPP is awful, and as you say, Trump and Hillary, you get two people who are supporting TPP.
Well, Trump says he doesn't actually.
Oh, that's right. He doesn't support it. That's absolutely right. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, he says he doesn't. Hillary also says she doesn't, but that was up until last October. She called it the gold standard, and then she was like, "Oh, this is going to hurt me. Okay, I'm against it." And then as soon as she gets president, she's going to go, "Oh, we fixed it. Now let's pass it."
And again, to go back to Trump just for a second on the environment, I guess is there a great? He's an abomination on virtually every front. But he is, anybody who sits there and says we need to do more, we need to exploit our coal industry more. I mean, coal is certainly the dirtiest energy there is.
Well, isn't fracking actually worse than coal?
Oh, well, I was thinking about in
terms of the methane.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's arguable, I suppose. Yeah, it's arguable.
That's what I mean. I'm not a meteorologist, but I have hung out with Josh Fox, who made Gasland. So, and he's the one who told me about how methane is 80 times worse. It's more dense of a pollutant in that it traps 80 times more warmth, put it that way, in the atmosphere than carbon.
Which is why, again, industrial meat production is a big climate change.
People don't even realize that it's methane.
I gotta stop eating Doritos. You're freaking me out.
We were going to mention that to you. This is sort of an intervention.
Because of climate change.
We are unstoppable, and we know that all of you are also unstoppable.
Now, Trump was at this is outreach to African Americans, a room full of white people staring at a couple of colored people on stage. People of color on stage. Isn't it funny you can't say colored people anymore, but people of color is okay?
Yeah, you're right. That is an odd fact.
And this
is the Sean Hannity thing that we're looking at right now.
This is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's no wonder if how does that go over in a black household where hey, you guys want to go see Sean Hannity? I mean, seriously, who in a black household would be excited about Sean Hannity? If they even knew who he was, little kids wouldn't know.
Well, I'm guessing a lot of these white people live with black people. That's how, and black households. And so they're like, oh, I'm up for it. So now this is where he endorsed stop and frisk. Now, a lot of people's initial reaction, like, what was your initial reaction, Hank, to the stop and frisk?
Well, it's one of the craziest things he said.
So he wants to have it nationwide. Stop and frisk nationwide.
Yeah, it was already ruled unconstitutional, and then he immediately praised Rudy Giuliani in the same breath because he's on his inner circle. So it's not a surprise that he thinks it's an effective tactic. But insane. He told a black guy that. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take everybody that looks like you and push you up against a wall and have government agents run their hands up and down your body.
I mean, his best hope in that room was that people didn't really understand what stop and frisk really was.
Yeah.
You know, he did get some applause. I presume that's from this crew that we're seeing.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, it's unconstitutional and ruled unconstitutional. It's not just my opinion that it's unconstitutional, but also, and maybe more to the point, or as much to the point, is completely ineffective. I mean, if you looked at the stats on stop and frisk, they were alarmingly poor. I mean, I think less than 1% of the people who were stopped actually had firearms. So either the policing is awful, meaning that you're stopping and frisking the wrong people, or it doesn't work as a policy.
Yes, plus it's unconstitutional, right? So what they're doing, what they did in New York was they took state officials, gave them guns, and sent them into poor black and brown neighborhoods and told them to terrorize those people. That's what they did. They terrorized those people. Black guys being stopped. They were stopped 5 million black guys. That's more black guys than live in New York City. They had 5 million stops of black guys. And overwhelmingly, it's been proven that that white guys are going to be more likely to have guns on them and drugs.
Yeah, and it's not so much about the one person they're frisking. It's about everybody seeing it happening on the street.
It's happening.
I mean, that's how the fear is spread around.
That's the terror.
Yeah,
so that terrorizes everyone else.
Imagine walking down the street and being like, a cop can just stop you and touch you.
So now everybody knows how horrible that would be to extend it nationwide, but nobody really screamed about it when it was happening in New York. I mean, there were some on the left, but not really, right? So that's the weird thing. It's like, oh, now we realize what a maniac Bloomberg was. Bloomberg had stop and frisk, and Hillary Clinton brought him on stage at the Democratic Convention. Bloomberg, a billionaire Nazi. I like fascist billionaires. I really do. He's one of my favorite. Of all the fascist billionaires, he actually did stop and frisk. Trump is only suggesting it. He actually did it, and Hillary Clinton brought him on stage. So this whole thing that Trump is worse than somehow, he's exposing how horribly corrupt our system is. But the entire culture, right? Because when Hillary Clinton calls his followers deplorables, and they are, right, David Duke, but is David Duke worse than John Negroponte? Is David Duke worse than Henry Kissinger? Those are actual war criminals. David Duke, as far as I know, hasn't disappeared anybody in Honduras. So here we are again. When Trump says stop and frisk, Bloomberg did it to every black and brown person in New York City, and Hillary Clinton didn't say anything. And she brings that guy on stage, a guy who's already done stop and frisk. And now everybody's horrified that Trump wants to export that to the rest of the country. But it's okay that Michael Bloomberg did it? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the context is everything, right? In this case, he's speaking about a specific incident and a crisis in the black community, and he suggests this outrageous thing. In the case of bringing Bloomberg on stage, it's lost in the noise of the political season,
right,
and that's why he's on stage. And no one.
But anything that they point the finger at Trump at, almost to the thing, you can point at something horrible that we're already doing. Like when he says we're going to build a wall, he just says it more demonstrably and more of an asshole, right? Because we've got videotape of Hillary Clinton saying that, yeah, I voted for a barrier 3 times. Some places will be a fence, some places will be a barrier. Really? What are you going to put some Visqueen up? A barrier. So that just reveals. And by the way, Fusion's reporting is that Barack Obama is exporting. He's doing the exporting of Hispanics that Trump only dreams of doing. So again, so she says, oh, they're deplorable. She's hanging with the war criminals. He doesn't accept the science of climate change. She's pro-fracking. She doesn't accept the science on fracking. So you can do this all day long, yet still I go on people's shows and they wag their finger at me and tell me I'm uninformed because I'm informed about her record. And they tell me, how dare you? Because Trump. It's the most intellectually lazy argument I've ever heard. And it comes from everywhere. And people say it like they thought of it. That's not an original idea, Trump, Supreme Court. You're not an original thinker. I am an original thinker. So original thoughts scare a lot of people who are really comfortable with the status quo and the establishment, and they repeat corporate talking points handed to them by the DNC. Jill Stein's anti-vax, Bernie's a sexist. So, again, here we are. anything you can point at Donald Trump, stop and frisk. She's already endorsed it. She already brought Michael Bloomberg on stage, the guy who implemented it. What do you think about that, Mark?
I think that, to be fair to her, I doubt, and that this is going to be, I know I'll be about to be thrown out of here.
You are.
I doubt that Hillary Clinton would endorse stop and frisk. Bringing Michael Bloomberg on stage, I think he is viewed as again within that political environment of the convention. He's viewed as look, this is one of our success stories. The mayor of New York, and often spoken of as a viable presidential candidate himself. If it was a referendum on stop and frisk, I think she would vote against it. I'm talking about in today's world, okay? Of course, I agree with you 100%. On the environment, she's abominable. That's my issue, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have anyone left of center supporting these things that defile this planet the way Hillary Clinton's environmental policies do.
So I'm sitting here with comedian Dave Reinitz. Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jim.
I'm also here with Steph Zamorano, the miserable liberal. Hi, Steph. Hello.
Hold on to your forks. Endless Shrimp is back at Red Lobster. That means you get to try as much as you want of whatever flavors are calling your name. Seriously. Like new garlic sriracha grilled shrimp. It's a little spice, a little sizzle, and a lot just right. And try new Parmesan peppercorn shrimp. Hello, crispy goodness. And the classic hand-crafted shrimp scampi you can't get enough of, still gonna floor you. It may be called endless, but that doesn't mean it'll last.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Jimmy Dore Show. Oh my God, I'm here with you've heard him on our bonus podcast, and you've heard him on this show before too. But he's now a regular guest on our bonus podcast. It's Mark Tucker.
Yeah, all bonus, everybody. Drink in the bonus. Come on. Great to be here, Jimmy.
It's Mark Thompson.
Just a little applause, please.
So great to have the one and only Emmy Award winner.
Yes, true. Yep.
Woo!
I know. It's exciting for me as well to be in the company of a guy who's exploding the way Jimmy Dore is. This is a magical place, ground zero at Jimmy Dore land, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you always. Now, Mark,
you're a change agent, Jimmy, and it's a pleasure to be around a change agent.
Now, Mark is a master voiceover actor, and he did a video for us about the PBS sponsors.
Oh, that's right.
If you remember that one, that was hilarious, right? In fact,
fun.
If we can remember to put a link, we'll do that.
And viewers like you.
Okay, so Donald Trump held an outreach at for blacks, African Americans. No kidding. There's a picture from the event, his outreach to blacks. I'm not kidding. That's a picture.
Well, it takes a lot of
That's a picture.
It takes a lot of white people to reach out to blacks.
It takes an awful lot of white people. I just thought that was funny. I wanted to show that. This is hilarious. I'm like, are you guys at a Tea Party rally in Missouri? Where are you? Yeah, but up on stage, you see there's some dark people on stage. There's a guy. Oh, there's even a guy with a what do you call it? A turban, right? Or was that what they call that? You see that all the way over there?
Sort of. Yeah.
And then there's a guy who looks like Cory Booker.
Yeah. Nothing makes black people more comfortable than a room full of white people worshiping a strong man. Great move.
That's remarkable. I've never seen that picture before. There is one black person in that picture. You can see him there to the right.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's that one congressman guy, I think.
He's about to get thrown out.
That one Republican guy. Was it Watts?
Oh.
Was it Jesse Watts or was it J.C. Watts?
J.C. Watts.
J.C. Watts.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's him. I don't know if that's it. I just thought this was funny. I want to show that sometimes you can show it, and Hang make the great joke. There's nothing that makes a
room full of white people more comfortable than a bunch of. I can't.
You just messed it up, but you did it right the first time. Yeah. You already get it. People rewind.
Yeah, rewind.
All right. And there's Glenn Beck. Right. There's Sheriff Arpaio. They got that room full of people who are supporting the colors.
It's like the Hollywood squares of Black Reach Out.
Let's see. Here's
yeah. This is like a casting call for a Cialis commercial.
Yeah. Oh, there's S.C. Pup. Over there.
Yep. There's a Fox News logo on the back wall.
Yeah.
Boy, that's going to be on the flag one of these days.
Speaking of the flag, that doesn't look like your traditional American flag, or is it? I don't know.
Where's Jack Welch? Because he's a Trump supporter. Jack Welch. Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric. He's a Trump supporter, and he's a war profiteer, too, which used to be a bad thing, but nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares anymore. You could be a war profiteer. In fact, I wish Jack Welch happy 4th of July to my favorite war profiteer on 4th of July, and he said, thanks.
Oh,
he responded.
You did? You called him a war profiteer on Twitter?
Props. So props 2 years ago on 4th of July.
I like to think he was holding his phone going, no one's talking to me. And then it popped up.
Oh, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore.
It's too good.